It had been a long day, the kind where the hours seemed to stretch endlessly, filled with the constant hum of computers, phone calls, and the never-ending shuffle of papers. The city outside was cold and wet, rain tapping gently against the windows, a soft reminder of the world beyond the glass walls. The streets glistened under the dim lights, and for a moment it felt as if the city itself was breathing, moving with a quiet rhythm that matched the pulse in the office. But inside, there was only fatigue. Alex leaned back in the chair, rubbing the temples, trying to shake off the heaviness that clung to him like a shadow. The deadlines, the meetings, the constant rush, everything seemed to blur into one long, monotonous stream of noise and pressure. He opened his laptop thinking maybe something light could ease the mind, a distraction from the weight of the day. But scrolling through the usual playlists of pop songs, electronic beats, and podcasts, nothing caught his attention. Every note felt forced, every rhythm too loud or too fast. It was as if his mind craved something different, something deeper, something that spoke in a language beyond words. Then, almost by accident, he stumbled upon a playlist labeled classical music for relaxation. Curiosity piqued. He clicked on the first track, and the room slowly filled with the soft, flowing notes of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. At first, he barely noticed, caught up in the automatic movements of his fingers scrolling through emails. But then something shifted. The gentle piano, the way each note lingered and floated, seemed to reach inside him, touching a part of himself he had almost forgotten. The world outside the window, the office lights, the stack of unfinished work, all of it faded into the background. All that remained was the music, delicate and profound. For the first time in years, Alex felt a wave of calm wash over him. It wasn't just a momentary distraction, it was a feeling of connection, of being transported somewhere that existed outside of time. The melody carried with it a strange kind of warmth, a mix of melancholy and hope, a story told without words. It made him close his eyes and breathe slowly, deeply, as if the music itself was teaching him how to exhale the stress he had been holding on to. Hours passed, though he didn't notice. Track after track played, each composition more enchanting than the last. Mozart's symphonies brought light and liveliness, like sunbeams breaking through a cloudy sky. Vivaldi's Four Seasons painted vivid pictures of nature spring rains. Summer storms, autumn winds, winter frost, every note a brushstroke on an invisible canvas. Bach's intricate fugues fascinated him, the patterns winding and twisting like threads of thought. Precise yet deeply emotional, Alex realized something profound. These were not just old pieces of music. They were living stories, expressions of human emotion, struggles and triumphs, preserved through centuries. Each note carried the weight of the composer's life, their joys and sorrows, their triumphs and failures. Listening to them felt like stepping into a different world, a world where time slowed and every feeling could be expressed without a single word spoken. He began to feel a sense of curiosity he hadn't felt in a long time. Who were these people who had created such enduring beauty? What drove them to pour their hearts into these compositions, leaving behind works that would speak to generations far beyond their own? Alex opened new tabs, searching for biographies, reading stories of the composers' lives, the struggles, the moments of inspiration, the times when music had been their only solace. Each story added depth to the music, and the melodies seemed to resonate even more, now colored by the knowledge of the lives behind them. The rain outside had stopped, leaving the streets glistening under the city lights. But Alex didn't move. He was sitting, eyes closed, completely absorbed, as though he had discovered a secret that had been there all along, waiting for him to notice. It wasn't just relaxation he was feeling, it was awakening. Awakening to the power of music, to the emotions it could stir, to the way it could reach deep inside a person and touch something that words never could. For the first time, he understood why people spoke of legendary music with reverence. This wasn't just entertainment. It was a form of human expression that could outlast centuries, that could reach across time and space to touch the soul. And he knew, without a doubt, that this was only the beginning of a journey that would change the way he saw the world, and the way he felt inside it. Music became his companion in the days that followed. During stressful moments at work, during quiet nights at home, he would return to those compositions, letting them guide him, soothe him, and inspire him. Each day, he discovered new pieces, new stories, and a new understanding of the depth and beauty that classical music had to offer. It became more than sound. It became a lifeline, a teacher, and a friend, reminding him that there was more to life than deadlines and obligations. There was emotion, there was history, there was connection, and in those quiet, music-filled nights, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of peace, a spark of curiosity, and a deep, enduring joy that came from discovering something timeless and beautiful. He realized that he had only just begun to scratch the surface of this vast world of legendary classical music, and he couldn't wait to see where the journey would take him next. After that first night of discovery, Alex's curiosity only deepened. The music had unlocked something inside him, and he felt compelled to learn more, just to hear the notes, but to understand the stories and people behind them. He began spending hours reading about the composers, their lives, and the eras they lived in. Each biography revealed a new layer of understanding and connection. He read about Mozart, a child prodigy who poured his soul into symphonies, sometimes struggling to find recognition during his life. He read about Vivaldi, whose music painted the seasons with sound, capturing the essence of nature with precise, intricate notes. Bach's works fascinated him most of all, with their complex structures. Yet every fugue and motif carried emotion that seemed timeless. Alex noticed patterns emerging in the music and stories. Each composer had faced challenges, hardships, or moments of doubt. Yet, they created pieces that transcended their struggles, resonating with people centuries later. This realization inspired Alex. It wasn't just the music that was legendary, it was the resilience, creativity, and human spirit behind it. Each composition became a lesson, showing him how beauty and art could emerge, even from the most difficult circumstances. He began a personal ritual. Each evening after work, he would choose a composer and explore their music, listening intently while reading about their life. It became a meditation, a way to step away from the chaos of the day and immerse himself in a different world. Mozart's playful symphonies brought laughter and lightness, while Beethoven's dramatic sonatas revealed depth and intensity. Vivaldi's seasonal masterpieces transported him to sun-drenched fields, snowy landscapes, and stormy skies. Bach's works challenged his mind, encouraging focus and reflection while evoking deep emotion. With each listening session, Alex felt more connected not just to the music, but to history, to the composers, and to himself. The world outside his window seemed smaller and yet more expansive at the same time. Music had a way of bridging centuries, connecting the present with the past, and reminding him that human experiences, love, loss, joy, struggle remained constant across time. He began to notice the little things in life more deeply, the way sunlight hit the leaves, the rhythm of rainfall, the laughter of strangers passing by. Music had taught him to listen, not just to sounds, but to life itself. Friends and coworkers noticed the change in Alex. He seemed calmer, more present, and surprisingly patient. When asked what had caused this shift, he often mentioned the music, though he struggled to convey just how profound it had become. It wasn't about entertainment. It was about connection, learning, and emotional growth. People were curious, and some even tried listening along with him. Discovering the same calming and uplifting power he had experienced, his evenings were no longer solitary. Small gatherings started to form, with friends joining him to explore the legendary works of the past. They would discuss the composers' lives, analyze the music, and share what it made them feel. These conversations were alive with emotion, laughter, and sometimes tears. Music had become a shared experience, a bond that deepened friendships and brought people together in unexpected ways. Alex also began keeping a journal, noting his thoughts, feelings, and discoveries about each piece. Writing about the music enhanced his appreciation as he tried to capture the emotions and imagery it inspired. Sometimes he would sketch scenes, imagining what a composer might have seen or felt while writing a piece. Other times he would write short reflections on how the music affected his day, his mood, or his perspective on life. The journal became a treasure trove of insight, a personal record of transformation that he could revisit whenever he needed inspiration or calm. As weeks turned into months, Alex's exploration expanded. He sought out recordings from different eras, instruments, and performers, noticing how interpretations could vary widely, each bringing something new to the familiar compositions. He listened to orchestras in different countries, discovering nuances in tempo, expression, and phrasing. Live performances became a must, and the first time he attended a symphony, he was struck by the collective energy of the musicians and audience. Every crescendo and diminuendo felt alive, almost tangible, and the experience left him breathless with emotion. Through this journey, Alex realized that classical music was not a relic of the past. It was a living, breathing art form, continually interpreted and reinterpreted by musicians and listeners alike. He began to see parallels in his own life, recognizing that just like composers, people could take challenges, hardships, and experiences and transform them into something meaningful and beautiful. Music had become a mirror, reflecting his own growth, resilience, and capacity for wonder. The more he learned, the more he wanted to share. Alex started a small blog, writing about his discoveries, reflections, and experiences with legendary classical pieces. He hoped that others, like him, might find a doorway into this world and experience the calm, inspiration, and connection that music had brought into his life. Readers began to respond, sharing their own stories and favorite compositions, creating a community united by curiosity and a love for timeless art. In this way, Alex's life became intertwined with classical music. Each day brought new insights, emotions, and connections, reinforcing the power and importance of the compositions he had once stumbled upon by chance. Music was no longer just a pastime. It was a companion, a teacher, and a guide. It had opened his eyes to the beauty of history, the depth of human emotion, and the endless possibilities of creative expression. And so, as Alex continued his journey, the legendary pieces of classical music became more than notes on a page or sounds in the air. They became living, breathing experiences that shaped his life, expanded his mind, and touched his heart in ways he had never imagined. The journey was just beginning, and every evening brought the promise of new discoveries, new emotions, and new connections waiting to be found in the timeless melodies of the past. As Alex's journey with classical music deepened, he began to notice its transformative effect on his everyday life. It was no longer just a hobby or a form of relaxation. It had become a lens through which he experienced the world. The melodies, harmonies, and rhythms shaped his thoughts, feelings, and even the way he interacted with others. Each day, he found himself attuned to details that had once gone unnoticed, the subtle changes in the weather, the expressions of people passing on the street, the tiny moments of beauty hidden in routine tasks. Music had awakened a sensitivity, a heightened awareness of life's nuances. Alex began attending more live performances. Not just local concerts, but also orchestras and chamber music ensembles in nearby cities. The first time he sat in a grand concert hall, surrounded by the resonance of dozens of instruments playing in perfect harmony, he was overwhelmed. The sound was immersive, almost tangible, and it felt as if the music had a life of its own. Each note, each pause, each dynamic shift carried intention and emotion. He realized that the composers had written these pieces with care, knowing that future generations would listen and feel them. Long after their own lives had ended, he also started experimenting with listening at different times of day and in various settings. Morning sessions with Bach's precise fugues seemed to sharpen his focus, while evening sessions with Debussy's flowing, impressionistic pieces calmed his mind after a hectic day. He discovered that certain compositions aligned perfectly with his mood or the energy of the environment around him. Music became not just a companion, but a guide, leading him through the highs and lows of his daily routine with grace and insight. Alex began connecting more deeply with the emotional content of the music. He would close his eyes and imagine the scenes that the composers might have envisioned: the snow-covered landscapes in Vivaldi's Winter, the playful, sunlit gardens in Mozart's symphonies, the inner turmoil and triumph in Beethoven's sonatas. The music carried him beyond his immediate surroundings, transporting him into imagined worlds where emotion and intellect intertwined seamlessly. Each listening session became a journey, a mini-adventure that left him exhilarated and contemplative in parallel. He started practicing simple pieces on the piano at home. At first it was difficult. His fingers fumbled, and the notes did not always align with the melodies in his mind. But over time, with patience and persistence, he began to play small compositions, feeling the physicality of the music as he pressed each key. The act of creating music himself added a new dimension to his understanding. He realized how much skill, discipline, and dedication went into every piece he had been listening to. The connection between composer, performer, and listener became tangible, and he felt a deep respect for the artistry involved. Music also began to influence Alex's creativity in other areas of life. Writing, problem-solving, and even simple conversations were now colored by a sense of rhythm, balance, and harmony. He noticed that tasks, which had once felt mundane, became opportunities for subtle creativity. Inspired by the structures and motifs he had absorbed from listening to centuries of musical genius, classical music, he realized, was not just entertainment, it was a framework for thinking, feeling, and living with intention. The social aspect of music grew as well. Alex organized small gatherings at his apartment, inviting friends to listen and discuss different compositions. Each session became an exchange of experiences, perspectives, and emotions. Some friends were skeptical at first, but they quickly became engaged as the music revealed its power to evoke memories, spark ideas, and inspire reflection. Discussions ranged from the technical mastery of a composition to the emotional impact it had on each listener. These evenings became a ritual, fostering connection, empathy, and shared appreciation for the timeless art form. He also started to explore recordings from different eras and regions, noticing how interpretation, instrumentation, and performance style could change the experience of a piece. A symphony conducted in one country might emphasize a particular emotion or rhythm differently than another performance. These variations fascinated Alex, teaching him that music was dynamic and alive, not static. Every listener, every performer, every environment contributed to the life of a composition, making it unique in each encounter. Through this deepening exploration, Alex realized that classical music was more than just notes on a page or sounds in the air. It was an evolving conversation between past and present, composer and audience, performer and listener. Each piece carried the spirit of its creator, yet it was reborn with every performance and every attentive ear. This understanding brought him immense joy and humility as he recognized the vast, interconnected tapestry of human creativity that had endured across centuries. The impact on Alex's personal life was profound. He found himself calmer in stressful situations, more patient with others, and more introspective about his own emotions and actions. The music taught him empathy and understanding, showing that the human experience, its joys, struggles, and triumphs, was universal and timeless. He felt connected not only to the composers of long ago, but to the countless listeners around the world, past and present, who had been touched by the same melodies and harmonies as Alex continued his journey. He knew that he was only scratching the surface of the vast world of classical music. Every day brought new discoveries, deeper understanding, and unexpected emotions. The legendary pieces he had first encountered by chance had grown into a lifelong pursuit of beauty, knowledge, and emotional connection. Music had transformed from a casual interest into an essential part of his identity, shaping his thoughts, feelings, and actions in ways he had never imagined. The world felt richer, fuller, and more meaningful with each note, each composition, and each moment of reflection. Classical music had become a lens through which Alex could view life with clarity, depth, and profound appreciation. The journey was ongoing, and the possibilities seemed limitless. Each evening, as he sat in his favorite chair, listening to a new piece or revisiting an old favorite, he felt the same thrill and wonder as that first night. The music was alive, vibrant, and eternal, and Alex was living within its embrace, ready to discover all the treasures it had to offer. Alex's passion for classical music continued to grow, and he realized that the journey was no longer just personal. It had become a bridge connecting him to others. The music that had once been a private sanctuary was now a source of shared experience. He began to invite friends, colleagues, and acquaintances to listen with him, to explore the world of legendary compositions together. What started as casual listening sessions turned into small gatherings where people discussed the stories behind the music, the emotions it evoked, and the subtle nuances they noticed. Each session became a window into different perspectives, fostering conversation, connection, and empathy. These gatherings were more than social events. They became learning experiences. Alex noticed how the group would pause to consider a passage, marvel at a particular motif, or reflect on the life of a composer. Mozart's playful symphonies prompted laughter and light-hearted debates, while Beethoven's sonatas sparked deep conversations about struggle, passion, and resilience. Vivaldi's evocative compositions inspired vivid imagery, with each listener picturing seasons, landscapes, and emotions uniquely in their mind. Through these interactions, Alex realized that music was a universal language, capable of connecting people across backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. In addition to sharing music, Alex also began to explore ways to document and share his insights more broadly. He started writing blog posts that captured his reflections on individual compositions, their historical context, and the emotions they inspired. His writing was simple, approachable, and heartfelt, making it accessible to readers who might have felt intimidated by classical music in the past. He emphasized the human side of the compositions, the struggles and triumphs of the composers, the stories embedded in each note, and the emotions that resonated across centuries. Responses from readers were encouraging. People shared their own experiences, favorite pieces, and personal stories of how music had influenced their lives. Some had never considered listening to classical music before, but Alex's writing inspired them to explore it with curiosity and openness. This interaction reinforced his understanding that music was not just about sound. It was about shared humanity. The compositions, though written long ago, continued to touch hearts and minds in the present as Alex's appreciation deepened. He began to notice the transformative power of music in unexpected ways. On days filled with stress, a particular piece could calm his racing thoughts. On days of celebration, a lively symphony amplified joy and excitement. Music became a guide through emotional landscapes, helping him navigate life's challenges and savor its pleasures. He realized that these compositions were more than historical artifacts. They were living tools that could shape human experience in profound ways. This understanding led him to explore different interpretations of the same piece. He discovered that recordings varied widely, with each performer bringing a unique perspective to the music. A tempo change, an emphasis on a phrase, or a subtle shift in dynamics could transform the emotional impact entirely. Alex learned to listen carefully, appreciating both the technical mastery and the emotional expression in every performance. This practice heightened his awareness and deepened his connection to the music. Revealing layers he had never noticed before, Alex also began to integrate classical music into his daily routines. Morning sessions of batches, structured compositions, enhanced focus and productivity, while evening listening of Debussy's impressionistic pieces encouraged relaxation and reflection. During commutes, he explored piano sonatas and orchestral suites, using the music to transform ordinary moments into mindful experiences. Over time, these practices became habits that enriched his life in countless small ways, creating a sense of rhythm, balance, and Eintantalent beyond personal enjoyment. Alex started to notice the social impact of music. He encouraged friends to attend concerts with him, watch their reactions, and shared interpretations together. Live performances became a communal celebration of artistry and human expression. He observed how audiences were collectively moved by crescendos, silences, and intricate harmonies. The shared experience amplified emotions, creating a sense of unity among strangers. Music, he realized, had the power to forge bonds that words alone could not. The journey also inspired Alex to try composing his own simple pieces. He began experimenting with melodies on the piano, learning how to structure motifs, create variations, and convey emotion through rhythm and harmony. The process was challenging, yet deeply rewarding. It gave him a newfound respect for the composers he admired and a practical understanding of the craft behind the music. Even small accomplishments, successfully playing a short piece or completing a brief composition, brought immense satisfaction and reinforced his connection to the art form. Through these experiences, Alex discovered that classical music was not a static or a distant relic. It was a living, evolving form of expression. Each piece carried the intentions and emotions of its creator, yet it was reborn in every performance, every listener's interpretation, and every reflective moment. Music was timeless, bridging past and present, performer and audience, composer and listener. In a continuous exchange of human emotion and creativity, Alex's life had been transformed in ways he could not have anticipated. Music shaped his thoughts, nurtured his emotions, and connected him to others on a profound level. The legendary compositions he had once discovered by chance had become a lifelong source of inspiration, guiding him through personal challenges, fostering empathy and understanding, and enriching his appreciation for the beauty and complexity of life. With each new piece, each discussion, each performance, he continued to explore the depth and power of classical music. Knowing that the journey was endless and the discoveries would continue to unfold, bringing joy, insight, and connection at every step. Over time, Alex's journey with classical music had evolved into something far beyond what he had imagined. What began as a simple attempt to calm his mind had become a lifelong pursuit, shaping his understanding of the world and deepening his connection to life itself. Each day he found new inspiration in compositions that had withstood the test of centuries. Each note a reminder of the creativity, emotion, and resilience of those who had come before him. The music had taught Alex to listen differently, not just to sound, but to life. He noticed subtle rhythms and patterns in everyday moments, finding harmony in the ordinary. The rise and fall of conversations, the ebb and flow of his own thoughts. The cycles of day and night all seemed to mirror the movements of symphonies he had come to know so well. These realizations brought him a sense of peace and clarity. Allowing him to navigate challenges with patience and focus, he continued attending concerts and performances, each experience expanding his appreciation and understanding. The first time he heard a full orchestra play Beethoven live, the intensity of the crescendos and the delicate interplay between instruments left him breathless. Later, at a chamber music performance, he marveled at the intimacy and precision of a small ensemble, each musician contributing their voice to a shared whole. These experiences deepened his awareness of how music could convey the full range of human emotion. From joy to sorrow, triumph to despair, Alex also found that music enhanced his creativity in other areas of life. When he wrote planned projects or problem-solved, he drew on the structures, motifs, and rhythms he had absorbed from listening to classical compositions. Patterns in music inspired patterns in thought, allowing him to approach challenges with fresh insight and clarity. Tasks that had once felt mundane became opportunities to apply creativity and intention, and he found joy in discovering the artistry inherent in everyday life. Sharing music with others remained a cornerstone of his journey. He organized regular gatherings where friends and new acquaintances explored legendary compositions together. Conversations flowed naturally from discussions of technical skill to reflections on the emotions and imagery evoked by each piece. Through these sessions, Alex observed the transformative power of music in others, witnessing how it could spark curiosity, nostalgia, empathy, and inspiration. Each shared experience reinforced his belief that classical music was more than entertainment. It was a conduit for connection, understanding, and shared humanity. In addition to listening and sharing, Alex began experimenting with his own musical creations. Learning to play simple pieces on the piano allowed him to feel the physicality of music, understanding firsthand the discipline and skill involved in bringing a composition to life. He attempted short compositions, experimenting with melody, rhythm, and harmony. The process was challenging but immensely rewarding, offering a glimpse into the creative process of the composers he admired. Even small successes, playing a passage correctly or completing a short piece, brought a sense of accomplishment and deep satisfaction. His blog and writings continued to grow, reaching a wider audience. Alex wrote not only about the music itself, but also about the human stories behind each composition. He highlighted the struggles, triumphs, and emotional journeys of the composers, making the music relatable and accessible to readers who might have previously found it intimidating. Responses poured in, with people sharing how they had been inspired to explore classical music for the first time, to attend a concert, or to reflect on their own emotions. This feedback reinforced Alex's understanding of the enduring relevance and impact of these legendary works. Through all of this, Alex realized that classical music was not a static or distant art form. It was alive, evolving and continually reborn in each performance. In each listener's interpretation, and in every moment of reflection, each composition was a dialogue across time, connecting the past with the present, the composer with the audience, and performer with listener. This awareness brought him a profound sense of humility, awe, and gratitude. In his personal life, Alex noticed the subtle yet significant changes that music had fostered. He was calmer under stress, more empathetic in interactions, and more present in his daily experiences. Music had taught him patience, focus, and emotional awareness. It had given him a lens through which to see the beauty, complexity, and interconnectedness of life. Ordinary moments became extraordinary when viewed through this lens, and he found a deep sense of contentment in both the quiet and the vibrant moments of each day. As years passed, Alex continued to explore new compositions, revisit old favorites, attend performances, write reflections, and experiment with his own music. The journey was endless, each day offering new insights, emotions, and connections. The legendary pieces he had first discovered by chance had become an integral part of his identity, shaping his thoughts, feelings, and perspective on the world. In the end, Alex realized that classical music was not just about listening, it was about living. It was a guide, a companion, and a teacher. It showed him the depth of human emotion, the resilience of creativity, and the timeless power of beauty. The journey that had begun with a single chance encounter with Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata had expanded into a lifelong exploration of art, humanity, and self-discovery. Through music, Alex had found not only peace, inspiration, and joy, but also a profound connection to the enduring human spirit. A connection that would continue to grow and resonate for the rest of his life. Alex's journey to classical music continued to evolve, and he found that each new piece he discovered added depth, not only to his understanding of music, but to his understanding of life itself. By now, music had become more than a personal passion. It was a lens through which he could explore human emotions, history, and creativity. Each note carried weight, each melody evoked images and memories, and each performance reminded him of the timeless nature of human expression in his daily life. Alex began to notice subtle transformations. He approached problems with a more patient and reflective mindset, drawing inspiration from the structured precision of Bach's compositions and the emotive crescendos of Beethoven's sonatas. Music had become a teacher, showing him that even complex challenges could be navigated with calm, focus, and intention. The lessons of rhythm, harmony, and balance extended beyond sound, influencing his thoughts, decisions, and relationships. Alex spent hours exploring lesser-known composers, delving into regional styles and historical contexts he had previously overlooked. The journey was immersive, with each discovery revealing a new facet of musical history and human creativity. He explored the delicate elegance of French Baroque pieces, the vibrant energy of Italian concertos, and the reflective depth of Russian symphonies. Each composition became a story, a window into the culture, struggles, and joys of its time. He realized that music was not just a series of sounds, but a living document of human history. Beyond listening, Alex's connection to music deepened through participation. He began learning more advanced techniques on the piano, gradually tackling longer and more challenging pieces. Each practice session was a meditation, a conversation with the composer across centuries. Mistakes were opportunities to learn, and moments of mastery brought immense satisfaction. He discovered the physicality of music, the way rhythm and finger placement influenced expression, and the subtle ways dynamics and tempo conveyed emotion. Playing music himself enriched his appreciation for the skill and dedication of the composers whose works he loved. Alex also expanded his community engagement. He organized larger gatherings, inviting not only friends but acquaintances, fellow enthusiasts, and local musicians. They shared insights, reflections, and performances, creating a vibrant, collaborative space where music bridged social gaps and nurtured understanding. Through these interactions, Alex observed how classical music could foster empathy and connection, allowing people to share experiences and emotions that transcended language. Background and culture live performances became central to Alex's exploration. He traveled to attend orchestras and recitals in different cities and countries, each venue offering a unique experience. The acoustics of grand concert halls, the intimacy of chamber music spaces, and the passion of performers brought the music to life in ways recordings could not. He marveled at the precision, energy, and emotion of musicians. Realizing that each performance was a rebirth of the composition, a living interpretation that connected past and present, Alex felt privileged to witness these moments, understanding the dedication and artistry required to bring legendary works to life. As his journey progressed, Alex documented his experiences meticulously. His journals captured reflections on individual pieces, performance observations, emotional responses, and creative experiments. Writing allowed him to process and internalize his experiences, creating a repository of insights that he could revisit and share. Over time, his writings evolved into articles, essays, and blog posts, reaching a wider audience. Readers responded with their own stories, expanding the dialogue around classical music and demonstrating its enduring relevance and impact. Alex's exploration also led him to study music theory, composition, and history in depth. He began understanding how motifs were developed, how harmony influenced emotion, and how structure guided narrative in music. This knowledge deepened his listening experience, allowing him to appreciate subtle complexities and the genius behind seemingly effortless melodies. He recognized the interplay of intellect and emotion in each piece, understanding that legendary compositions were the product of both rigorous technique and profound feeling. Throughout this journey, Alex reflected on the universality of music. Despite cultural, temporal, and stylistic differences, the emotional power of classical music resonated across borders and generations. Joy, sorrow, triumph, and longing, these were human experiences expressed through sound, connecting listeners to one another and to history. Alex realized that music had a unique ability to teach empathy, to evoke introspection, and to inspire creativity. In personal terms, Alex noticed the impact on his own life. He felt calmer, more centered, and more connected to the world around him. Music provided a refuge during difficult times and a source of celebration during joyful moments. The discipline, focus, and emotional awareness cultivated through his musical journey influenced his professional life, relationships, and daily routines. Classical music had become an invisible companion, shaping his perspective and enriching his experiences in subtle but profound ways. By now, Alex understood that the journey through classical music was endless. Each composition led to another, each interpretation opened new possibilities, and each experience revealed deeper layers of meaning. The legendary pieces that had first captured his attention had become portals to understanding humanity, history, and himself. Music was not a destination but a lifelong exploration, offering insights, inspiration, and emotional resonance at every step. Ultimately, Alex embraced the profound truth that classical music was more than art. It was a bridge between generations, a guide for the heart and mind, and a companion for life. Through the centuries-old melodies, he discovered timeless lessons, personal growth, and an enduring sense of connection. The journey that began with a chance encounter with a single composition had blossomed into a lifelong exploration of creativity, its emotion, and human spirit. Alex knew that the music would continue to inspire, challenge, and enrich his life forever. And he welcomed each new note, each new performance, and each new discovery with gratitude and awe. Alex's journey with classical music had become an inseparable part of his life. Each day he found himself drawn deeper into the stories, emotions, and history behind the compositions he loved. What began as a casual exploration had grown into a profound, ongoing journey of discovery and connection. He no longer listened to music merely for relaxation. He listened to learn, to reflect, to connect with something timeless and human. He began to explore rare and lesser-known compositions, unearthing works by composers who were overshadowed by more famous names. Each discovery felt like finding a hidden treasure, a voice from the past that had something unique to share. The textures, harmonies, and rhythms of these pieces opened new doors in his understanding, revealing the incredible range of expression that classical music offered. It amazed him how much creativity, thought, and emotion were captured in every note, even in pieces that had been almost forgotten over time. Alex also began to notice the way music could influence daily life in subtle but powerful ways. Listening to a delicate piano piece in the morning could set a calm, thoughtful tone for the day, while a vibrant orchestral composition could energize him and spark creativity. Music became a rhythm for life itself, a way to organize thought, focus attention, and evoke emotions intentionally. Even mundane tasks like walking to the store or making coffee became opportunities to listen, reflect, and connect with the world in a more mindful way. He continued attending live performances, and over time, he developed an appreciation for the nuances that each conductor and ensemble brought to a piece. Different interpretations could highlight elements he had never noticed before, emphasizing emotion, technical skill, or narrative in unique ways. He found that listening to the same composition performed by different musicians offered new insights, creating a richer understanding of the music and the human experience it represented. Each performance became a journey, an opportunity to experience the familiar in fresh and meaningful ways. As his knowledge grew, Alex began to write more extensively about his experiences. He shared reflections on specific pieces, insights into composers' lives, and personal stories about how music affected him. His writing became a bridge, connecting him with readers who shared his curiosity and passion. People began to engage with his work, asking questions, sharing their own experiences, and discovering new compositions themselves. These interactions reinforced his understanding that music was a universal language, capable of connecting people across time, culture, and geography. Alex also explored composition himself, experimenting with melodies and harmonies on the piano. Though he was not a professional musician, the process of creating music gave him a profound appreciation for the skill and dedication required to compose legendary works. Each small composition became a personal achievement, a reflection of his growing understanding of musical structure, expression, and creativity. Even simple experiments taught him patience, focus, and the joy of discovery. Through these experiences, he realized that music was not static. It was alive, evolving with every performance, interpretation, and listener. Each composition had multiple layers: technical, emotional, historically, and every person experienced it differently. This realization made him more empathetic, patient, and reflective in other areas of life. He recognized that, just like music, human experience was complex and multifaceted, deserving attention, care, and understanding. Alex's journey also strengthened his connections with others. He organized discussions, listening sessions, and small performances where people could share insights, emotions, and experiences. These gatherings became spaces of learning, reflection, and inspiration, where music served as a common language that transcended differences. He noticed that people who had never considered classical music before were often captivated by the stories, emotions, and beauty of the compositions, discovering their own ways to connect with the art form. The emotional impact of music became even more apparent during times of personal reflection. Alex discovered that certain pieces could evoke memories, stir long-forgotten feelings, or offer comfort during challenging times. Music became a companion in moments of solitude, a guide during moments of introspection, and a source of inspiration during moments of creativity. It provided continuity, structure, and emotional richness, shaping his inner life in ways he could never have predicted over time. Alex also began to study music theory and history more formally. Understanding the technical foundations of composition deepened his listening experience, allowing him to appreciate the genius behind the artistry. He learned how motifs developed, how harmonies conveyed emotion, and how structure guided narrative. This knowledge made him more attentive, analytical, and appreciative, enhancing every listening session and performance he attended. Ultimately, Alex recognized that his journey with classical music was limitless. Each composition offered a new perspective. Each performance provided a fresh experience, and each reflection added depth to his understanding of human creativity and emotion. Music was more than entertainment. It was a lifelong teacher, a companion, and a bridge connecting past, present, and future. Through the timeless melodies and harmonies of legendary works, he discovered not only the beauty of art, but also the resilience, complexity, and richness of the human spirit. And with each note he knew that there was always more to explore, more to learn, and more to feel.